How do people live in Arknights by and Nightmare? Well, let's get right into it. We already know it's going to be chaotic and crazy, but it's worth it.
Is a whole PV where Aegir literally hacked the video and called for every nation to please, for the love of God, put your difference aside and help us fight the ocean.
Nah, that's funny. So they called for help. Everyone, please, 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 please save us. We have some of the strongest people in the game, but we need you guys to rally around us so that we can stop this threat, because this threat will consume us all. Fair.
After finishing the Syracuse event, I thought about reading more of Arknights' story since the world is actually pretty interesting. But after reading through some of these events, explain to me how people even live in this world. Unless you are born with super arts, been given premium tier genetics, or friends with the main cast, you are not expected to survive past your 40s. Actually, scratch that, they aren't even having a good time either. Now, this isn't a power scaling video, nor—
I don't know, bro. I feel like if I was in the world of Arknights, I would have to have like some super god tier ability, bro, dude. Like I would just have to. Like I'm coming in and I'm booming shit. Because what else am I here for? Like what are we been doing, right? Like come on.
A comprehensive lore guide, because I still haven't read everything and new lore comes out faster than I can find time to read them. This is just a fun little video about how messed up this world is, so without wasting any more of your time, number 1. The gods, otherwise known as the Feramuts, are immortal, powerful beings that inhabit Terra. These beings come in many shapes and sizes and have powers that scales from controlling the landscape to time-space manipulation. The one I would like to focus on most in this segment is Feramut Sui. So, a quick backstory on Sui. Back then, when Yan was in his infant state, basically during a Chinese dynasty, there was a lot of infighting between clans. Then one man named True Lung rised up and united everyone under a single nation. However, the Feramut have been using their powers to rule by fear, forcing the people to worship them like gods. But fear left for too long often breeds into hate, as one emperor decided to declare a legendary event known as the Great Hunt.
They all name events the same, don't they? The Great Hunt.
He can defeat gods.
The Great Gathering. The Great Downfall. Everything is great, but living in Terra fucking sucks. That's kind of funny, right? The irony. The names are like the Great this, but living there is still terrible. Even after the Great Hunt, life didn't get better. So what are they doing? It's just suffering. It's just suffering for suffering's sake.
Carefully planned and lured the Feramuts to a festival. Then he launched a full-scale attack, even shocking everyone with the partnership of Feramut Sui. But Sui had alternative motives. The reason why he's helping the humans was because he wanted to be the only god in Yan. Only the Emperor knew this. After all, he viewed all gods as being selfish and used Sui's power against him, imprisoning—
So this is actually why we have captions on like that. Let's turn those off. That was like really weird. I don't never watch videos with captions like that unless they're not in English, right? So this is the garden that we've been, the Garden of Grotesqueries. That's where IS-6 has been this entire time, right?
Him deep underground and splitting him into 12 fragments. Since the Emperor succeeded, Yan basically became a world superpower, being the only nation to ever challenge and defeat gods. But in fighting them, the Empire lost millions. The army was nearly destroyed and the north part of Yan became corrupted because of demons. We'll put a pin in that for later. But here's where things gets a bit prophetic. Sui is said to revive soon, and so are the other Feramuts.
Do we see who's on the screen? Do we see who's on the screen? Hey, do we see who's on the screen right now? I don't know, man. I don't know. This looks pretty cool, right? This looks pretty awesome.
Being killed or banished by mere mortals, what do you suspect a god would do when they come back? Exactly, that's what the Yan government is thinking as well, and they've been preparing for the revival for over 1,000 years. And in order to have some political stability, a new policy was put into place that basically said to hide the impending doom from the innocent people. Not only do regular people not know about the gods returning, but also the fact that there are literal demons and Seaborns coming for them. Put a pin in that one as well. To put
Holy
things
shit,
into
dude.
perspective, after like 1,000 years have passed, a lot of people in Terra don't even know if the Feramuts are real. In fact, they would just call them gods like we would. Now, imagine if your government not only hid the fact that they kept God's corpse in their basement, but also the fact that Armageddon is coming, and we might have pissed God off. I think it would go something like this for the average people. You're out doing your thing, then a countdown appears. What makes it even worse is, of course, there are factions and cults that are trying to reunite all the fragments to revive.
I mean, they're gods, right? There's always going to be someone that worships gods and wants them to be back on Earth and back on land, and doing whatever they're doing. I feel like that's a given for any of these types of stories. But this is interesting because they hid it from the regular people. But I guess it doesn't matter. Excuse me. Regular people wouldn't be able to do anything about this anyway. If they're not all being born with originium powers. I almost fucked that up trying to say it like that. But if they don't have arts and stuff, like, they're pretty much useless anyway, right? And even if they did, they might not even be strong enough to fight these guys.
We actually get to see this when one of the dying Feramuts named Ya came back to Yan for revenge against Sui and the country. But luckily, during the climax, Big Bro Changyu, one of the 12 fragments, managed to confront Ya, only for Ya to hit a... But Changyu said, "I don't need magic," and just beat Ya out of the domain with Kung Fu. Honestly,
That's
with
hilarious.
Yan and
Giga
her
Chad.
fragment siblings trying to fight against Destiny, by the way, she's my favorite beside the rice farmer, I think this event could maybe be survivable. But you know what's funny? If we are looking at just Feramut wise and not the other threats, Yarak might actually be the safest place to live in the entire world. I've always been a winter guy. A little bit of snow here and there. God is still alive and pretty happy.
Oh, bro, I got love in Lungmen, bro. That was the city that looked like the most technologically advanced that, as far as I've seen. I haven't got to see Colombia yet. I haven't got to see the America in the game yet, but we should definitely be looking into that during stream tonight. We'll probably do a little bit of lore diving live. But I would definitely think I would want to be in Lungmen or Colombia.
That people still worship her, but she does wish that the people didn't isolate themselves. That's right, this god wants you to go outside more. At one point, she basically took on a form of this woman and act as a maid to the Saintness. And I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but they kind of made her look like a corpse. Her skin is super pale, and usually blue lips tends to indicate a lack of oxygen. But yeah, she's just hanging around behind the scenes since she wants her people to be self-sufficient. But don't worry, here's a little miracle for you. I also like how they explain the reasoning for why these godlike beings doesn't instantly wipe the map is because their powers are actually landlocked. They're basically nerfed without home field advantage. You know what? No, she should be... So yeah, that's number one. Time to move on to our next segment. Cognitive hazard and info hazard. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the demons. As we know, demons portrayed in anime are usually one way or the other. They're either just another race or actually monsters. Unfortunately, the Arknights demons are like a disease type, cause they explain that the demons make no sense. As in, they are incomprehensible to the normal people and warp reality itself. In fact, demon is a term used to hide their real name. Their scientific name is called the Collapsals. Now, here's why this segment is called Cognitive Hazard and Info Hazard. The act of knowing or thinking about them gives you a chance of being corrupted. Imagine if your friend was like, I was out the other day in Sammy, right? I saw these like floating meatball things. Yeah, got like an eye and teeth and I don't know, freak him out, right? Apparently, they're called demons or collapsals if we're getting technical. The snow priest and something about getting my memory wipe, but wait, so they're kind of like Doom. Yeah, I guess you could.
So if you know about them and think about them, you're cooked. What the fuck kind of writing is that? That's like actually horrible. So it's better to not know. Because once you know, it's over for you, bro. It's over for you. It might be rough to like survive through this. It might be rough to survive through this world.
At least That's what I think would happen. But there's also this part that doesn't make sense to me. So there's this country called Sami that's located super close to the north. Their Feramut, called Sami, is slowly being corrupted, and the people of Sami are expert at pushing them back. So far, some researcher and higher ups at Jan and Ursus knows about these Collapsals. So explain to me how the act of knowing and thinking about them causing corruption doesn't affect these people. Now, I had to look up a wiki to see what the symptoms of corruptions are, and what I found is straight out of an SCP file. Your body starts to develop black patches, faces becoming a singularity that do not reflect visible light. Literal Walking Dead. Loss of the ability to understand language or mathematics. Luckily, this time there wasn't any cultists. Or at least I couldn't find any. Okay, after hearing all this, how hasn't the world been run over yet? We got some super soldiers in Yan fighting off the corruption. Then of course, Sami Snow Priests doing the same since they are the most knowledgeable. And lastly, the Ursus Empire. Apparently they're somehow using occult rituals to fuse collapsal powers into super soldiers. As far as I've read, this is a losing battle.
What unit is that? What unit is that? Who is getting collapsal abilities? Is there a character that's playable with that, or is that just more lore for lore's sake?
They're only keeping the demons at bay right now. Oh, and of course, they have space and time manipulation too, because why not, right? But with all of this in mind, what is even more terrifying than something that you can't even think about? Something that's even more dangerous than reality warping powers. That's where we head to segment 3, adaptation. Now, segment 3 is where things go from somewhat controllable to utterly inevitable. Imagine you live near the sea. Maybe sometime go there for the nice relaxing waves. Then, all of a sudden, you start to hear these wriggly, slimy creatures emerging from the ocean. They are called the Seaborn. From my understanding, these things will immediately try to shut down your nervous system and assimilate you into their hive mind. The main thing separating their aggression, however, is the fact that they don't really do this for fun like the Collapsals. They just want to preserve and survive like any other animal. But these underwater people called the Aegir did something to them that made them view all of humanity as a threat. What makes them more dangerous than the Collapsal is the fact that they can evolve and adapt to anything. You shot one with a gun? Now their whole species is bulletproof. There are tiers to these things, by the way, being as small as a microbe to these flower urchin looking thing, all the way to these Leviathan class. These things only recently became a problem, and unfortunately, again, no one knows about them. The country called Iberia, located closest to them, thought that, hey, maybe we should be the only line of defense against these creatures. And of course, there's a cult. These guys are called the Church of the Deep, and guess what they believe in? Surprisingly, not the next step to evolution. They actually believe that everyone should be assimilated into the hive mind because being under a collective mind would mean no more wars and sadness. So they made sure that the Seaborn stays hating humanity. Probably introduced them to the internet or something. But
it's just funny though, because isn't that how those things are always written? There's a cult that's trying to bring them back and help them become powerful. You think that extinguishing your entire race is going to be better than just living your own individual life? Like, come on, dude. Let's be real here. Like, stop trolling us. Let's just be real here.
Now you might be wondering how these things haven't ended the world yet. Luckily, they aren't actually intelligent. According to one of the Abyss Hunter, which I will get to later, these guys only adapt when they need to. This is a ticking time bomb because they only need to have someone in their collective mind to be smart enough to do this, and boom, everyone can adapt passively now. Now, about the Abyss Hunters. They come from this underwater city and are pretty much hybrid super soldiers made to kill Seaborns, and the higher grade Seaborn can just ragdoll the strongest among them. By the way, this one is promptly called the End Speaker. Because they are half Seaborn though, this does mean that they eventually will be assimilated as well. But I feel like I haven't sold you on the Seaborn problem yet. So let me tell you about a worst case scenario. In IS3, we get to explore alternative timelines about the Seaborn, but first, some context. There is a character called Scotty. She's one of the Abyss Hunter and is one of the most powerful people in the world because her battle causes massive property damage, including collapsing an entire fort. Again, not a power scaling video, so I won't do any math. But mind you, she is just using a greatsword. So
I just have to ask, why would you need to demath in a power scaling video? We're just talking about lore. We're not talking about how much damage she's doing on field, right? Like, I don't think you would really need the mathematics for that anyway. Or is that like just like something that like is done in this community? Like, if someone's strong, y'all just get to add and subtract and multiply and shit to like give us numbers that we may not need at that point in time. Because if it was about making your team, I guess that would make sense. And I'm learning that. I learned that in stream yesterday. A lot of people are very about the technical aspects of the game, like, oh, you put them there because then you get this extra range, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that because I'm learning, you know. So like, is that like important? Is the power when it comes to power scaling, are the numbers important here? Even though we're just talking about her singular character right now, we're not talking about her in comparison to others, or like, let me know in the comments.
she managed to
I'm
take down
curious.
one of the Leviathan called Ishar Malah. However, when the Leviathan was defeated, its blood managed to fuse with Scotty and now lays dormant. Now, in the
Damn.
worst case scenario timeline, Ishar Malah managed to take over Scotty's mind, bringing in a new age called the Second Silent. There is a whole PV where Aegir literally hacked the video and called for every nation to please, for the love of God, put your difference aside and help us fight the ocean. But as we soon see, this does not work. This animation made by Ziying Zhang beautifully showed us what could have happened during the fall of humanity. The animation begins with a man stripped of everything, his work stolen in order to make the very flying machine in the sky. But as he was peering up, a robot appears and shoots the man for what I presume is the Originium infection. Then they dumped his body off the landship where he falls beside a Seaborn. It beckons to him, inviting him into the many, where his pain and suffering will disappear. Assimilations. Then, giant flying mantis soars to the destroyed city. Waves of endless Seaborn storms the landship, but the machine managed to repel them with giant flames. Until the evolution picks up. The absolute scale of these things easily broke through the wall, forcing the Titans to hold them off. We also get to see Saria's calcification research being used here. The Angel people saw something terrifying, something I believe to be the Sarkaz people. The Titans succeed. Only that was one of many. The red is what I assume to be the Sarkaz managing to repel the Seaborn once again. But once the Seaborn is killed by something, the rest adapt with this new information. The Angel people are overrun, forcing a drastic option. It is said that the Emperor's Blade, the very soldier using the demonic collapsal power, sacrificed themselves to form an impenetrable barrier. However, it only took the Seaborn a few months to adapt to that as well, easily bypassing the dominion that is meant to corrupt all life and reality. After this, many innocent evacuated to the last city. Nature was being—
You know what's crazy though about a threat like this? It's like, and I know this is a gacha game, so having threats like this is better because it's, you know, the game's ongoing, the story is ongoing, the story is moving. But like, what would be the threat beyond this? Like, let's say they somehow manage to clear this or keep them in check, or maybe the Abyssal Hunters learn how to manipulate the nervous system of like the Seaborn because they're technically, you know, feel me? And let's say like some shit like that happens, right? So like, what would be the next threat looming? Because this seems like a threat that they wouldn't be able to beat. Like, war is war. You can overcome war to some degree, right? With talks of peace or whatever, or just by completely annihilating places and stuff like that, right? But something like this, right? How would they overcome it? And if they did, what would be next? What would be like the next step in this like journey, right? Like, that's actually pretty interesting to think about.
Simulated. Casimir Knights trying to buy time, but the evacuation wasn't going well. There were too many people. This image honestly goes hard. It shows the combined forces of every nation's strongest soldiers working together. Their might, however strong, collapsed in less than a day. In the last moment, Amiya had to break her limiters and use everything she can to fight back. We even see the Feramuts themselves joining in the battle against the Leviathans. adaptation and assimilation took place, and we get to see Scotty Ishamala's form. The firstborn stands before Amiya. Then, we get to see these beautiful shots of how much destruction the Seaborn had created. In the end, with 99% of humanity either eliminated or assimilated, the Seaborn begins to fly, breaking past the fake sky and entering space. Finally, freeing Terra of its threat. I believe the animation is based off the final ending of IS-4, where you hatch this insane plan with Mizuki and he becomes the Seaborn god to take them into space before the hive mind could eliminate all life. It is said that after many years, his desire to come back to Rhodes Island allowed him a human body. When he touched the land again, he witnessed that the originium is gone, the wildlife no longer barren. And he does get that wish of coming back to a place he calls home. Humanity was rebuilding, and we even learned that some young Seaborn still lives on Terra, with the current people treating them like normal animals and even giving them food, sending a new perspective up into the stars. Humanity today is no longer a threat. We can coexist with humans. This is what I really love about Arknights. Despite every horrible world-ending entities, Arknight is a profoundly hopeful game. The message of Arknight is, and has always been for the past 5 years, is that while the world itself might be cruel, a better future can always be built through collective actions. By the way, I have only covered like 3 out of 6 or 7 of them. I still haven't talked about the woman on the thumbnail yet, so if this video somehow does really well, I'll make a part 2.
W video, I won't lie, it was very entertaining. There's a lot of stuff I have questions about though, but I guess it would just be better for me to just play through some of these side stories and more of the ISs and kind of vibe it out myself. Hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you guys, join the Discord. Peace.